Hey guys, we're the Texas Real Estate Sisters. I'm Magali.
And I'm Nathaly, and this week we're going to be talking about what to expect when talking to a lender.
Stay tuned. All I can think about is, let's talk about myths, baby. Let's talk about you and me. What? Let's talk about myths.
Why are you singing?
So this week on Instagram, we posted an infographic that gives kind of the 6 steps of the home buying process and just an overview of what that looks like. And the first real step after choosing your real estate agent is going to talk to a lender. So, I mean, that's what we're going to tell you to do, you know?
Yes.
So, but that's the scariest thing that people find to do, or the thing that people like resist doing the most.
Yeah, so we thought we would bust a few myths about about lenders or about the process of going through a lender.
Yeah. So the first myth that we're going to bust is that if you go to a lender, you have to buy your home tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people get that feeling of just meeting with the lender. They almost feel like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to walk out of there, you know,
having signed my life away.
With a mortgage payment and all these things. And that's simply not true.
All you walk out of there with is more information about where you are financially. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't even have to take anything with you to do that.
Yeah.
So the next thing is that you need to have
20% down.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, that is not true. You do not have to have 20% down to buy a home. That's just a myth that I feel like has been circulating forever.
Just recycled that because our parents and our grandparents have told us that that's what we need. And that's, you know, it's just not true.
It's not true, and it does not.
And if you do have 20%, that's great. But if you don't, that's also okay. And the next thing is calculating your own numbers.
There's tons of online calculators and estimators, and you could plug in all these numbers. And if we're being honest, guys,
we're not the experts at doing this.
You guys aren't the experts in lending, and real estate agents
are not
the experts in lending. The only true way to figure out what is your down payment going to be, what is your interest rate going to be, all those small moving parts that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
You cannot calculate those or even estimate those by yourself at home. Yeah. They're good tools, but that's probably what you should just use them as, just to play with and see what those numbers look like.
Yeah. And the last myth we're going to bust
is
dun, dun, dun.
Lenders are free. You don't have, there is no, you know.
So don't think that when you have a conversation with them or you go consult with them in their office that there's some type of fee or meeting fee.
Yeah.
Or nothing like that.
Yeah.
To explain a little bit about how lenders are compensated, they work on commission. So not until the very end when you close your house, pretty much like real estate agents, are they compensated by the loan, pretty much.
Yeah. So now that we've busted some myths about your lender that you might choose, let's talk about some things you should look for in a lender.
And like in any relationship, communication, guys, is so important. It's so important, especially when buying a home. It only takes a few weeks.
Yeah.
So if somebody isn't doing their job, if somebody isn't communicating, it could be a disaster.
Yeah.
So that's why you want a lender that can communicate 24/7. That if we do need something on a Sunday or a Saturday or late in the day, you're still a priority to them. They didn't shut off their phone, shut off their computer, and say, okay,
see you on Monday.
Yeah, see you on Monday. I'll reply to you then. Yeah. And you just, you lost the house you wanted to put an offer on, or you lost to multiple offers. I don't know, something like that. But that's why that is so important, is to communicate.
Yes.
Communicate.
Yeah. And the second thing we think is important is that they're local. Right now, there's so many, options, like especially virtual options, like for people to have lenders all over the country. But we think it's really important to be able to have those face-to-face interactions and to be able, if you need something right now and you need to go to their office to talk to them, that you can do that. Or some of them even come to you.
Yeah.
So we find that to be key in just this whole process.
And it's just, I mean, not that somebody's gonna like ignore you, but if your lender's in California and you're in Texas,
a time difference,
it's easier for them to blow you off and not care about you how they truly should.
Yeah. And how you should expect for them
to. And that kind of brings us to anytime that you talk to a lender, you should feel like you're being informed so you could make the best decision for you and your family. Right. Not pressured, not
you shouldn't feel any uncertainty.
Yeah.
Once they look at all of your information, they should present you all the options that are viable for you. And once you pick what you think works for you, you should feel secure and ready to purchase a home with them.
And if you don't, ask those questions and they'll be more than happy to re-explain or, just help you figure something out so you know what exactly is going on and you don't feel like, oh, I just signed off and I don't even know what I signed.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the questions we get all the time is, what do I need to have prepared when I go to a lender? And the simple answer is, you don't need to have anything prepared. But what they are going to look at are one of two things. The first one being credit.
And credit-wise...
Oh, credit.
Yeah.
That's like everyone is always so anxious about lenders looking at people's credit. And it's just, there's nothing to be anxious about. There's options for everyone.
I don't know why I feel so lost right now. I don't know why. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. So when I talk about credit with clients, a lot of the times I get, well, I don't want to do a hard pull on my credit. There's this stigma behind, if they pull my credit, it's just gonna destroy it. Like that's almost what people make it seem like.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a hard pull, so it does obviously impact your credit, but not to say it's gonna do anything negative to it.
There's only benefits that come from getting your credit pulled.
Yeah, if anything, if you're still a year out or a year plus and they pull your credit, in a year or in a year and a half, it's not going to matter. If anything, they're then able to look at your credit and tell you, even if you have perfect credit, they could still tell you, hey, if you pay a few things down, your credit could be higher, your interest rate could be lower.
Yeah.
So they could just give you suggestions on that, or even to just improve it in general.
If you're in a place where maybe you do have terrible credit for whatever reason, that doesn't mean you can't. First of all, it doesn't mean you're not in a position to buy a home, because you might think it's lower than it actually is.
Yeah.
And also, they can set up a game plan if it is that low. But if they don't pull it, they don't really know what that looks like, and they can't help you take the steps necessary to get you where you need to be.
And looking online on Credit Karma and all of those online credit things, they're just not accurate, and they're not going to pull up the facts.
I'm going to give you guys homework. Go ask any person that has bought a home that you know, and ask them what their Credit Karma versus what their pull was, and I can assure you that those numbers were not the same.
It's always off.
Yeah.
So the only real way to do it is to actually have it pulled, so you can actually know what's going on there. And sometimes there's even things on there that people are like, that's on there?
Yeah.
Like I have no idea. Because they looked on Credit Karma and it doesn't come up on there or anywhere else, and they're shocked that it's there. So that's why it's so important to look at credit.
The next thing that we're going to talk about is your debt to income ratio.
And the reason that we're specifically naming debt to income ratio and not just income is because when they're looking at debt to income, they're comparing the amount of debt that you pay on a monthly basis in comparison to how much you're making on a monthly basis. So if you're making $100K a year, but monthly, when they're looking at ratios, it's 70% of your income.
Yeah. Like you're paying off credit cards and car payments and
TVs and
all kinds of things, and then it ends up being more of your income than expected. That's when they're gonna say, hey, we need to pay some things down before we're in a happy place per se to be able to buy a home.
That's why it's hard to say, and we won't say, oh, this is the minimum income you need, because you know, somebody could be making a lot, but most of their money goes to debt, while somebody could be making less, but they really don't have that much debt, and they can afford this, you know, the same house.
Yes.
So.
And then that's where you're looking at credit too, right? Your credit is high, your debt is high, so something always has to give to have like a happy mix happening.
Yeah, and those are just a few things, or main and major things that the lenders look at. Guys, and there's also so many moving parts.
Yeah, no, there's also so many moving parts. And also just another note with debt is that sometimes you think that you have to come in and pay all of the things that you owe all the way down, and that's not true. Sometimes it's as little as paying down $400 on something that you have a high amount in, and that's enough to get you where you need to be.
Yeah, and also another, which is kind of a myth, so we get a lot is, you know, I want to be debt-free when I buy my house, or I want to pay all my student loans off before I buy a house.
That just makes me want to cry thinking about
it. And guys, so many people have student loans. It is very common, especially like with millennials and you know, this large crowd of people that have the opportunity to go to college now. Yeah. Everybody's worried about that. Like, well, how am I going to buy a house if I have all this debt? And guys, you do not have to pay it off completely.
You don't.
Before you buy a house.
You're there, I feel like there's always like two people. Like either the person that has been paying consistently since they got a consistent job after college, and then maybe the person who's been deferring their loans for a while. So whichever person you are, there is still a game plan there. There's still something that can be done for us to get you on the road to buying your home.
And really, zero debt is bad. You know, because that's what builds your credit and stuff. So don't think like paying off all your credit cards and shutting them all off. That is not good.
Not the move.
Don't go to that extreme.
Yeah.
I wish we had a monitor that
I know.
had everything. I know some people buy them, dude. Like some people have monitor prompts and stuff.
You know what we just need? We need one of those big like
thing. We'll get one.
That's the cheapest option. We don't need a monitor.
We need a monitor.
I need an extra large iPad so that I can write all the things I need to know.
So the last thing we're going to talk about is the advantage of talking to a lender ahead of time.
So we can plan something that makes the most sense for you if you, again, just signed a lease, or if you're doing a relo, if you're relocating from another state. And that gives us time to make sure that we are moving in the right direction. And if there's any financial things that we need to do in that time frame, get your credit up, get your debt down. Maybe you're waiting to get a promotion and you know that's going to happen. Yeah. Those are things that we know and we can plan for so that we can get you in the best position possible.
In doing that, guys, it makes the process not stress-free, right? But just so much easier.
Low stress.
Yeah, so much easier and low stress. And one of the advantages in doing that is we could pretty much, like she said, plan out what that time is going to look like. And also the transition, because that's what could be tricky. You know, you don't want your lease to end, December 31st, and you have one or 2 days to move.
Yeah.
You know, that's stressful with kids, with pets, or even just long distances. You know, I can't imagine moving from like
picking up your life from one state and moving to another in 2 days. Like,
or
that's tough.
Or there being a weird gap of time where we don't close our house for a week and we're gonna live in a hotel.
We're gonna be homeless for a week.
Yeah, we're gonna live in a hotel for a week. Like that's just so uncomfortable, and that's something that you could
get ahead of.
So by doing that, you could set yourself up to be even more stress-free. Let me tell you why. So your first mortgage payment, depending on where it falls on the calendar, isn't for 2 months after. Yeah. So if you close January 1st, your first mortgage payment isn't until March 1st.
Yeah. And then that would be like a lease ending at the end of January. So if you paid for, you paid your rent, your last rent that you're paying for January 1st, then you have a gap there that allows you
you're not double paying. So you don't have to pay your rent and
mortgage on top of each other.
So it's nice to have a month of, let's set ourselves up. But also, if you really want to me, that would really take a lot of stress and just make me really comfortable, like inside my mind, there's really no other time that you're gonna get when you're paying your home where you could get ahead.
Yeah.
So making your first mortgage payment that first month.
Yeah.
Puts you a whole month ahead.
So in this example, like instead of paying your first mortgage payment March 1st, you would pay it February 1st, and that would get you, and then
or even 2 weeks before. It doesn't have to be like the whole month. Even 2 weeks before paying
that
it early.
always keeps you ahead, so you don't ever have to worry about falling behind on your mortgage payment.
Yeah, and you're always paying it early. So even if you do get behind, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, because that happens, guys. Things come up, and why not take advantage of that? You know, like unless you're gonna make a double payment somewhere else down the road, which could be difficult, or you know, people just don't want to do that sometimes. You're not gonna have that option. So why not take advantage of it and comfortably move through the timeline and take advantage of that.
And lastly, the thing that we think is most important is that after you go talk to your lender and do all of these things, you're going to get the pretty little prequel letter. And that's just going to let you know and let us know how much home you can afford.
And that's so important, guys, because like we said earlier, a lot of people will go in on the estimator calculators and they'll type
calculator.
And they'll type in numbers and they'll have an idea of what they could get approved for or how much they could afford. And doing this, guys, even if you're not quite there yet and you still have your lease to go through and stuff like that, at least that year, at the end of that, you'll know, hey, I'm approved for $200, $215, and you'll spend those 6 or 8 months looking at things that are realistic for you and that are actually options. So when the time does roll around, when it's time to go and start looking, not only do you have a better idea of maybe what part of town you want to be in or what type of house,
but also like what makes sense for you.
Because guys, it could be I can't even imagine, you know, looking at homes in a certain price range for months. There's some people years. I'll meet people, we've been looking at homes for years. Then they get pre-qualified and they can't afford that. They can't afford that, or they're just, you know, maybe next time when they upgrade, they'll be at that dream home level that they were thinking. But it could just be...
it's so heart-wrenching to, like, see a family come in and look at a home and their kids pick out bedrooms and the house is just, like, not in their price range. You just don't want to do that. You know, like, you don't want to go look at the mansion when currently all you can afford is the 3-bed, 2-bath home that is perfect for your family. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes so much sense to come in knowing exactly where you're at.
Yeah, it's better than guessing. That's for sure.
So we hope that this information helps you guys. This was just kind of like the surface of what you're walking into when we tell you, hey, we need you to go talk to, you know, lender A, B, and C and see who works for you. So don't forget to subscribe. I hope everyone had a really happy Thanksgiving.
And also, we are planning to do a live with a lender. So if you guys have any specific questions about lending, just anything that has to do with the financing side of things.
It doesn't matter how specific or how vague, and also there's no stupid questions.
Yeah, there's not. So you guys drop those in the comments below and we'll be happy to answer them. Yeah,
or if you follow us on Instagram or anything, or you want to DM us, just like any form that you want to get in contact with us about that would be great. So we'll see you next week. Next week we're going back to Thursday.
Yes.
And we'll see you then.
Bye.